Hey everyone, it's technology expert Burton Kelso here with another tech tip to help you get the most out of the technology in your life. Today we're talking about how to stop your school from spying on your kids and your family. That's right. According to a recent study, school monitoring software sometimes does more than monitor what your kids do. A lot of these apps are collecting data, and it's important you know what to do in order to make sure that your family is safe. Now, with every video that I make, please like, comment, or share this with your friends and family who are looking to get more out of the technology in your life. When it comes to monitoring apps for school, it's important for parents to have at least an idea of what their kids are doing on their devices. As a parent, you want to make sure that if it's a regular device or a school issued device, that you are making sure that they are doing what they're supposed to be doing. Now, sometimes most schools will automatically block popular apps, like, for example, your kid wouldn't be able to go on to, say, Roblox or a Minecraft website because that's not something that you want to do on school issued material. But many districts adopt established software or monitoring software in order to easily implement a system that will allow them to keep up what kids are doing and to make sure that kids are being appropriate when using school issued devices. Now, the challenge with that is if a district, and it depends on the district, may be limited on funds to develop their own monitoring software. And the problem that comes with some monitoring software is the fact that you may not be able to develop monitoring software your school district that will get past and be able to monitor on some popular websites and social media filters. Now, sometimes websites will block monitoring software so that way you can't see what your kids are doing. But just to give you an idea, the ones that you may need to watch for, let me show you some examples of monitoring software that may or may not be spying on what your kids are doing. So the first one that we're going to look at is GoGuadian. Now, GoGuadian is a popular website where educators allow it to monitor what your kids are doing. But one of the challenges of what some monitoring software does is it actually monitors your kids' activity. I should have mentioned this before because you're probably like, well, why do I care? Well, like most social media websites and email and other software packages or web-based software packages out there, your monitoring software or your school's monitoring software utilizes AI. And AI sometimes, as we know, isn't perfect. So it may accidentally deem your kid a risk because obviously this monitoring software is not only looking at gaming sites, but it's also looking at everything that's on a smart device, such as messaging, email, you name it. That monitoring software is looking at every aspect of that school issued device that your kid is using. So again, some of the products that may be looking at too much is number one is GoGuadian, which is a website where educators can install this software on school issued devices. And that's the other thing too. A lot of this is on school issued devices rather than your own devices, unless you're using some of this software to monitor what your kids are doing. Now, next on the list is Bark. And I had Bark, and give me a second. Let me bring it back up. Well, let's skip Bark for now, and let's go to another one, which is Gaggle. Now, Gaggle, if we can bring it up here, is software that, again, districts are using to safely monitor what kids' devices are doing. So let me go ahead and decline these cookies. But you can see what Gaggle does and how different school districts are using Gaggle and things that they review. So for again, for a lot of districts, it makes perfect sense to use software like this because it allows the districts to quickly and easily monitor what kids are doing, and the software is designed to report back home to the school and to parents what your kid is doing. But then again, with the help of AI, it can, depending on your kid's behavior, your kid can be deemed as a problem kid, and obviously that report can get back. Now, again, there's two others. One I mentioned, but we'll go ahead and bring up securely, which is what our district uses for what our kids do. And securely, it pretty much works in the background, but the app itself does send out a weekly report letting us know what our kids' activity is, and this kind of gives you some of the things that it'll do for K through 8 as far as monitoring is concerned. But again, the challenge is um, what information is being reported back. And last but not least on the list of software is Bark. Let's see if I can bring it up this time and allow you to see what the website looks like and the icon. So there's Bark, parental controls for monitoring your kids' devices, and you can see exactly what Bark does. Now, there are some things that are in your favor as a parent as far as what needs to happen when you are looking at your kids' devices. Now, every parent wants to make sure that their kids' devices are being used responsibly, but you need to make sure that what your kids are doing isn't being collected and reported, and either, well, in negative instances, it could put a bad mark on what your kid is doing at school. But there is good news. There's protection out there that will allow parents to take action and keep themselves safe, and that's FERPA, which is a website by the federal government that stands for Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, but it's a federal law that protects the privacy of student education records, and all schools that, and that's the big challenge, is that all schools that receive federal funding follow under the law of FERPA. So again, you need to do some research and make sure that your school is how they're funded and if FERPA really applies to what is going on with your kid. Because a lot of parents are probably thinking, well, there's really nothing I can do. School is installing monitoring software, but FERPA definitely protects yourself and your students from having their information shared. So depending on your district, you may fall under FERPA, and there's things that you can do. So kind of to give you an idea of what FERPA allows you to do, I'll keep it brief as far as what needs to happen with FERPA. But again, you have as a parent, you have the right to inspect and review your kids' records. You can request amendments, your right to control disclosure, and you have the right to opt out, which I think is the most important thing when it comes to FERPA and how it actually works. So keep that in mind. Now, moving forward, there's several things that you need to do in order to make sure that you're safe as well, which is to see what your state laws are as far as what your child's personal information is. So be sure you check with your state and see what the privacy laws are to ensure that you can take action, especially if your school doesn't fall under the jurisdiction of being a federally funded school with FERPA in place. So what about tips? Let's talk about tips of things that you can do in order to make sure that you can keep your information safe. And one of the things that you need to realize is that with parental control software, it follows you just like your kids. So at home and at school, it's monitoring that stuff. But there are some tips that you can follow in order to make sure that you are keeping your family's information safe and secure from the prying eyes, not of the school, because I want to be clear, I want to say that it's the monitoring software that may be collecting data on your student. So let's look at some tips and see what you should do. So tip number one, as far as making sure that your kids are safe and secure, is to make sure when they're home and they're not using their devices to turn off their devices. When you're looking at your kids' personal devices, make sure that they're not logging into personal accounts. Again, there are accounts um, that may be blocked, especially if they're gaming sites. But if a child has their school issued device and they log into a personal account, of course, that monitoring software is monitoring everything that's going on at the device. Now, if your kid doesn't have homework, you might want to encourage them to leave their devices at school. Sometimes kids have to do homework, or maybe it's a snow day and they need to do virtual learning on their device. So you can't leave the devices at home in that instance, but make sure that they are leaving their devices at school when they can. Now, as far as online activities, when it comes to email, don't use the school issued email. You set up a personal email for your child to use. And speaking of personal, make sure that you're using personal devices to do personal stuff. So your school issued device should only be for school issued stuff. When it comes to other things that your child is doing, make sure that they have a secondary device for what's going on with their devices. Another tip would be to make sure that you are getting clarity as far as the parental control and the monitoring software that's installed on your kid's school issued device. Find out what information it's collecting, and if possible, you can try to read the terms of service for that company, but a lot of times, unless you use AI, it's impossible to read some of that information. Other things that you might want to consider to do is limit screen time for your kids. Make sure that they get in their homework, and don't allow them to be on their school issued device, because wandering time means kids are going to do things that may or may not jeopardize your family. So with that said, if you've got comments or questions about monitoring software for schools and what they're using, leave them in the comment section below. This video is not to say that every school district is using some of the monitoring tools that I had mentioned, but it is a good idea to take a look to see if your district is using that software, what software they're using to monitor school issued devices, and what information are those devices collecting. And finally, if that information is collected based on your child's online behavior on their school issued device, is it going to flag them as being a problem student based on what they do? So keep that in mind. Now, my goal with every video is to open you all up to a whole new world of ideas and experiences when it comes to your technology use. I love technology, and I've read all the manuals, and I'm serious about making technology fun, safe, and easy to use for everyone. So take care of yourself and do many things to make you smile, and thanks for watching.